The birth of a god. In 1959, something impossible happened. A man stepped into a chamber, he was torn apart at the atomic level, and then he did something no one thought possible. He put himself back together. Not as a man, but as something far beyond human comprehension. This is the story of Dr. Manhattan, the atomic god who rewrote the rules of reality itself. He can create life, destroy universes, and exists in all moments simultaneously. But there's so much more to his terrifying abilities than most people know. But before we explain every one of Dr. Manhattan's superpowers, a real quick ask that if you're new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button now. It's one small click for you, but a huge deal for us. Thanks. The incident at Gila Flats. In August of 1959, at the Gila Flats test base in Arizona, nuclear physicist John Osterman experienced an accident that defied every law of nature. Working alongside fellow researcher Janie Slater, John had repaired her wristwatch as a romantic gesture, a skill he learned from his watchmaking father. When he realized he'd left it inside an intrinsic field subtractor, an experimental chamber designed to strip away the fundamental forces holding matter together, he stepped inside to retrieve it. The door locked behind Osterman as the countdown began, and despite his colleague Wally Weaver's desperate attempts to override the system, the safety protocols held firm. When the timer hit 0, John was not just dead, he was mathematically erased from existence, dismantled at the subatomic level by the intrinsic field subtractor. His colleagues watched in horror through reinforced glass as he vanished, leaving only an empty chamber and the smell of ozone. However, John's consciousness persisted, etched into the fabric of space-time. In the months that followed, eerie apparitions began haunting the facility, a floating nervous system, a partial circulatory system with a beating heart, and finally, a complete musculoskeletal structure that terrified the staff. On November 22nd of 1959, he fully materialized as Dr. Manhattan, a glowing, blue-skinned entity standing over 6 feet tall. His first words were chillingly simple: "Janie, I'm here." Though he had gained mastery over the universe's building blocks, the man known as John Osterman was gone, leaving him increasingly disconnected from humanity. The radioactive glow and Cherenkov radiation. The electric blue glow radiating from Dr. Manhattan is not just for show. It's a physical manifestation of Cherenkov radiation, and it does make him a walking hazard zone. Cherenkov radiation occurs when charged particles travel through a medium faster than light can travel in that medium, creating a photonic sonic boom. When this happens in water, like in nuclear reactors, it creates that distinctive electric blue glow that nuclear technicians know all too well. According to physicist James Kakalios, who consulted on the Watchmen film, Manhattan is constantly emitting high-energy particles that ionize the air around him. These particles, moving at relativistic speeds, create photons with high frequencies and short wavelengths, appearing to the human eye as the color blue. Most Cherenkov radiation is actually in the ultraviolet spectrum, which means Manhattan is emitting even more dangerous radiation than we can see. In the original Watchmen graphic novel, Dr. Manhattan is accused of giving his former colleagues cancer, an accusation that is part of Adrian Veidt's plan to unsettle him. While it's unclear if Janie Slater's cancer was directly caused by Manhattan's radiation, exposure to him does carry risks. Kakalios explains that strontium-90 emits high-speed beta rays, which Dr. Manhattan constantly leaks, causing biological effects for those near him. Manhattan's radiant aura acts as a permanent force field, disintegrating any conventional weapon aimed at him. Interestingly, fan theories suggest that the intensity of his glow fluctuates with his emotions. During moments of anger or focus, like when he kills Rorschach, his aura pulses more brightly. This could mean his radiation output is somehow linked to mental or emotional state, making him more dangerous when agitated. Biological and physical sovereignty. Dr. Manhattan does not have a biological body anymore. He's a conscious projection of quantum energy that imitates human form. Because his body is a deliberate construction rather than organic tissue, he's completely freed from every biological limitation that governs living beings. He doesn't breathe, eat, sleep, or age. He can exist in the vacuum of space, underwater, or inside a star. His physical form is optional. He can become intangible or incredibly dense, with remarkable feats like standing against attacks that could vaporize a tank. Typically 6'5", during the Vietnam War, he grew to massive proportions, up to 100 feet tall, ending America's involvement in the conflict within 2 months through pure psychological warfare. In one chilling scene, a Viet Cong fighter shoots at him point blank, but the bullets pass through him as he calmly states, "You understand nothing," before disintegrating the soldier without even touching him. He can shrink, alter his density to walk on water, and change light frequencies around him, which he used in the HBO Watchmen series to disguise himself as Cal Abar. In the graphic novel, he preferred not to disguise himself, deeming it overrated, and discovered he wasn't limited to just one point in space or one body. Bio-Locative Multiplicity. Most beings are trapped within a single physical body. Dr. Manhattan laughs at this limitation. Through Bio-Locative Multiplicity, he can divide his quantum field to manifest multiple, fully functional copies of himself simultaneously. These aren't illusions or holograms. Each duplicate possesses the same physical mass, godlike strength, and towering intellect as the original. This allows Manhattan to conduct experiments on Mars while attending a government briefing on Earth, and having an intimate moment with Laurie. In a memorable scene from the graphic novel, multiple versions of Manhattan operate in his lab while another talks to Laurie, all with undivided attention. When Laurie expresses frustration, he seems confused by her discomfort, asking, "You could at least pay attention when I'm talking to you." The profound aspect is his unified consciousness across all forms. No primary body, just a distributed consciousness experiencing each version with total clarity. Physicist James Kakalios suggests this could relate to quantum mechanical wave function diffraction. While the maximum number of duplicates Manhattan can create is unspecified, he has created at least 6 distinct copies in the graphic novel. Some fan theories propose the number could be limitless, constrained only by his concentration, which might not apply due to his 4-dimensional perception. This ability served as a stark reminder of his growing detachment from humanity. While he could be physically present for those he loved, his mind was often billions of miles away, contemplating the fundamental mechanics of the universe. As Laurie bitterly observes, "John, you're starting to scare me. Sometimes I think you're drifting away from me, from the human race." But if being in multiple places at once was not enough, Manhattan's next ability would prove even more fundamental: atomic restructuring and alchemical transmutation. To Dr. Manhattan, the material world is not solid. It's an ocean of subatomic particles that he can disassemble and rearrange at will with a thought. His mastery over the 4 fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force, allows him to manipulate matter at its most basic level. He can change the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons within any given mass, effectively transmuting one element into another. Lead into gold is trivial. Forcing helium atoms together in a fusion reaction to solve an energy crisis? Simple. Adrian Veidt credits Manhattan with causing a huge leap forward in multiple sectors of science and technology, including the shift to electric-powered vehicles. By 1985, Manhattan's mere existence had made the world's technology decades more advanced than it should have been. On Mars, he built an immense clockwork palace from the planet's silica-rich sand, creating intricate glass structures and massive translucent gears that functioned flawlessly. This showcases his ability to engineer complex mechanisms from raw materials in seconds. However, his precision is also deadly. With a thought, he can atomize a human being, reducing them to scattered particles. During the Vietnam War, he disintegrated fleeing soldiers in an instant. At the story's climax, he vaporized Rorschach to safeguard the fragile peace that Ozymandias had created, severing his remaining ties to humanity. According to physicist James Kakalios, removing someone's intrinsic field would cause them to disintegrate at a subatomic level, leaving only free-floating quarks and leptons. He perceives the universe as a continuous Big Bang, where matter waits for his will to reshape it. As Manhattan states, a live body and a dead body contain the same number of particles, revealing how detached he is from human values. But as he mastered manipulating what exists in the present, he discovered an even more isolating power. His relationship with time itself was fundamentally different from every other being in existence. Chronoperception. Humans experience time as a river flowing from past to future. Dr. Manhattan exists in a state where every moment of his life is happening simultaneously. There is no yesterday or tomorrow, only a single and eternal now. He doesn't just remember his childhood or his accident at Gila Flats, he currently experiences them. Even decades later on Mars, this four-dimensional perception allows him to see all of history as a finished book, where every moment is open simultaneously. In the graphic novel, Manhattan shares, "I am standing on balconies in New York, Gila Flats, Vietnam. All of these are happening to me simultaneously." This non-linear experience of time is both a strength and a curse. Manhattan perceives the future as clearly as the past, often feeling like a passenger in his own life, unable to change the predestined timeline. The Watchmen wiki highlights his temporal determinism. He witnesses events without influencing them. He famously states, "We're all puppets, Laurie. I'm just a puppet who can see the strings," leading to a profound detachment from humanity since he knows the end of every story. In his relationship with Laurie, he often responds before she speaks, causing frustration, as genuine human connection becomes nearly impossible to him. The universe is a clockwork machine, and he is the only gear capable of seeing the whole mechanism. This existential burden drove him to leave Earth in 1985, seeking a reality free from the tangle of human lives. Quantum tunneling and instantaneous transportation. Manhattan's teleportation is not magic. It's quantum mechanics pushed to a limit. Quantum tunneling is a real phenomenon, where particles can pass through barriers that classical physics say are impossible. For a human, the probability of every atom tunneling to a new location simultaneously is effectively zero. For Manhattan, probability is a variable that he can control. According to Kakalios, quantum tunneling allows an electron to suddenly be in another metal, even across a vacuum. Dr. Manhattan can trigger this process for his entire body, effectively collapsing his wave function in one location and appearing in another instantly. This phenomenon is called Manhattan transfer, noted by Dan Dreiberg. He can teleport others, moving entire crowds or massive objects across vast distances. This ability involves the total deconstruction and reconstruction of matter across space. Kakalios states that Manhattan can adjust his probability function to ensure he appears wherever he wants, allowing him to teleport between Earth and Mars instantly, about 140 million miles, and even between different realities in the multiverse. The Metaverse Architect. When Dr. Manhattan left the Watchmen universe, he didn't just find other planets. He discovered the metaverse, the central axis of the DC multiverse. Here, his powers evolved from manipulating atoms to manipulating the narrative of reality. In the Doomsday Clock storyline, Manhattan discovered that altering a single moment in the past could reboot entire universes, demonstrating profound temporal engineering. He specifically prevented Alan Scott from finding the Green Lantern on July 16, 1940, which led to the downfall of the Justice Society of America, preventing Clark Kent from becoming Superboy, and ultimately leading to the creation of the darker New 52 reality. His interference impacted the entire metaverse, with beings like Mr. Mxyzptlk acknowledging his superior reality warping powers. Manhattan didn't just manipulate events, he edited the very fabric of existence, annihilating and reconstructing the DC universe while pulling elements from possible timelines. His experiments focused on Superman, the center of the metaverse, observing how the Man of Steel reacted to dark circumstances. Ultimately, Superman's selfless actions shifted Manhattan's perspective, prompting him to restore the 10 years he had stolen and undo much of his previous interference. This shift from nuclear god to cosmic editor marked Manhattan's transition into a force that even the most powerful entities in the DC universe admitted they couldn't match. Even the architects of the Omniverse regarded him as a significant threat, placing him amongst the most powerful beings in all fiction. Creation and synthesis of life. Perhaps Manhattan's most godlike ability is creating life from nothing. At the end of the original Watchmen, he muses about leaving to create some life, and that was not metaphorical. His final words to Laurie were, "I think perhaps I'll create some. Goodbye, Laurie." Using his mastery of molecular biology and evolution, he can accelerate the development of life on barren planets, crafting DNA from raw elements and creating sentient beings. In the HBO Watchmen series, his radiant energy fosters growth, making him a living Garden of Eden. During his first encounter with Angela in Vietnam, he demonstrated his power by assembling an egg from the atmosphere in seconds. When asked how, he explained, "I restructured the atomic components of the atmosphere into organic matter." However, he realizes that life created through calculation lacks the unpredictable essence of chance, what he calls the thermodynamic miracle. He muses that despite his abilities, he cannot replicate the unique spark that arises from the improbable odds of natural evolution, acknowledging that existence itself is a miraculous occurrence. Cosmic awareness and enhanced intellect. Manhattan's mind operates on a level that renders human genius obsolete. He doesn't just think faster. He perceives events so minuscule and rapid that they barely qualify as having occurred at all. He can read the history of an object by observing its atomic arrangement, having complete control over atomic particles, including neutrinos. His enhanced senses allow him to hear a heartbeat from miles away, or detect a single tachyon particle amid radiation. For example, he identifies Laurie's perfume as nostalgia without actually smelling it. Manhattan possesses cosmic awareness, constantly aware of the universe's status and feeling the connective energy of the multiverse, counteracting dark forces. He has been instrumental in the shift to electric-powered vehicles in the Watchmen universe and can manipulate chaotic energy, viewing magic as unexplainable science. He processes information effortlessly, understanding the universe at the total scale, knowing the precise moment of a star's death and a child's birth. His abilities grant him nigh omniscience and a deep understanding of the cosmos. He has become a being for whom the question "why" is replaced by the observation "is." This shift from emotional curiosity to pure observation marks the completion of his transformation from human to god. Tachyon blindness. Every god has an Achilles heel, and for Manhattan, it's tachyon particles. Tachyons are hypothetical particles that travel faster than light and move backward through time. Because Manhattan's perception is tied to electromagnetic and nuclear forces, a concentrated burst of tachyon particles acts like a smoke grenade for his vision. Ozymandias exploited a loophole to manipulate Manhattan's perception of the future during his plan. By using devices to flood Antarctica with tachyon particles, he created a blind spot in Manhattan's timeline, preventing him from foreseeing the squid attack on New York. As noted by the Watchmen wiki, while Osterman exists outside normal time, he perceives actions as predestined. Tachyon interference disrupts this flow, revealing that his powers are not truly all-knowing. He's a super receiver that can be jammed. Veidt states, "I introduced a flat static quantum fog over the entire region, making the future unreadable for Manhattan." Ironically, when his precognitive vision was blocked, Manhattan found it exhilarating, experiencing uncertainty for the first time. Upon discovering Ozymandias' plan, he lamented, "Had I been able to perceive the future, perhaps I would have prevented this." Thus, creating timelines static is a way to outmaneuver a god. The Watchmen wiki also noted that EMP could theoretically obscure his future vision, suggesting another weakness. This opens up fascinating speculation. Could a sufficiently powerful EMP temporarily blind Manhattan or even disrupt his physical form? While never tested in the source material, it does represent a theoretical weakness that fans have debated extensively online. Hidden powers and fan theories. Now we enter the realm of powers that are speculated, theorized, or hinted at but never fully confirmed. These abilities have sparked intense debate across fan communities, with some being more plausible than others. Power infusion and the inheritance theory. In the HBO Watchmen series, Dr. Manhattan introduced a new power, the ability to transfer his godhood through organic matter. He explained to Angela that by consuming an egg he created, she could inherit his powers. This implies his abilities function like a quantum virus that can be passed to other biological entities. The series finale shows Angela eating the egg, suggesting she inherited his powers, which was confirmed by showrunner Damon Lindelof. This ability makes Manhattan a potential progenitor of a new species, transforming him into a source code that could shift between hosts. This raises the theory that he never truly dies, but changes vessels. Fans on Reddit theorize that this power may have been dormant, allowing Manhattan to transfer his consciousness and achieve functional immortality. Some speculate that Will Reeves, Hooded Justice, might have absorbed part of Manhattan's power during their encounters, explaining his longevity. Environmental consciousness. During his early Reconstruction, John Osterman existed as a disembodied consciousness. This reveals a hidden power that's often overlooked. He doesn't actually need a body to interact with the world. He is essentially a sentient intrinsic field. Speculation among fans and lore experts suggests that Manhattan could, if he chose, possess other objects or other people, by aligning his field with their atomic structure. We see glimpses of this when he inhabits machines or creates his Martian palace. He's not building a house so much as being the house. Every pane of glass and every gear is an extension of his nervous system. This environmental consciousness means Manhattan could theoretically turn an entire planet into a sentient, thinking organism with itself as the brain. He doesn't just live in the universe, he has the potential to become the universe. Probability manipulation. Manhattan famously speaks about thermodynamic miracles, events so unlikely that they're effectively impossible. While he claims to only observe these, his actions suggest a hidden power of probability anchoring. When Manhattan wants something to happen, he doesn't force the atoms. He collapses the wave function in favor of the outcome he desires. In quantum physics, a particle can be in two places at once until it is observed. Manhattan is the ultimate observer. By simply looking at a possibility, he can make it a reality. This means he doesn't have to fight a war, he just has to observe a timeline where the enemy's guns all jam at the same time, and that timeline becomes the only one that exists. Fan theory suggests that this is truly how he ended the Vietnam War so quickly. Not brute force, but collapsing probability in America's favor. Emotional dampening and the apathy field. A subtle but devastating hidden power is Manhattan's apathy field. As his connection to time and matter grew, his ability to feel human emotion did not fade, it became a physical phenomenon. Those who spend too much time around him often report a sense of profound nihilism and emotional coldness. Janie Slater became increasingly depressed during their relationship. Laurie frequently felt disconnected and purposeless. The theory is that Dr. Manhattan's quantum field naturally dampens the bioelectrical signals in the human brain responsible for passion and urgency. By simply being present, he subconsciously forces those around him to view the world through his cold and clinical lens. This is why his lovers eventually leave him. They aren't just tired of his behavior, their own biology is being retuned by his presence, making them feel the same crushing weight of the unchanging future that he feels at all times. The Reddit fan theories community has extensively discussed this. Every relationship Manhattan has ends the same way because he's literally radiating existential dread. His very presence makes humans feel the meaninglessness he perceives. Dimensional shifting and the empty space travel. While we often see him teleporting, Manhattan's movement might actually be a form of dimensional shifting, not disappearing from point A and reappearing at point B, but briefly exiting the three-dimensional brain of our reality and moving through a higher dimensional space where distance is irrelevant. This hidden power allows him to see the connective tissue between different universes. In Doomsday Clock, he was able to exist in a space between panels, observing the history of the DC universe as a series of repeating cycles. He perceives the multiverse not as a collection of worlds, but as a metaverse, a singular living story that he can step into or out of at any point. This would make him an extra-dimensional entity that is merely projecting a three-dimensional shadow into our world to communicate with us. When Manhattan is speaking to humans, what we perceive is only the tip of a being that extends through an iceberg of dimensions that we cannot perceive. The paradox of omnipotence. Dr. Manhattan remains the ultimate answer to the question, what happens when the laws of physics gain consciousness, and then lose their soul? He's a being of infinite capability, who's often paralyzed by his own knowledge. He can create stars, erase timelines, rebuild himself from nothing, yet he spent years acting as a pawn for a government he didn't care about. As Dan Dreiberg observed, he could have stopped us. He could have turned the bullets into mercury, the hydrogen into harmless gas, and us into corpses, but he didn't. Why? The answer reveals Manhattan's deepest limitation. His deterministic worldview makes choice meaningless. If he already knows what he'll do, can he truly be said to have free will? This philosophical prison makes him arguably the most tragic character in comics, a god who cannot change his own fate. He's the atomic god, a reminder that absolute power does not lead to absolute freedom, but to absolute isolation. His final conversation with Adrian Veidt in the graphic novel encapsulates this. Nothing ever ends, Adrian. Nothing ends. Even with the power to remake universes, he cannot escape the fundamental nature of causality. In the end, John Osterman did not become a superhero. He became a fundamental constant of a universe he no longer felt part of. He has everything except the ability to be surprised by his own existence. He remains the most profound exploration in comic book history of what it means to have godlike power while losing everything that makes you human. The graphic novel psychiatrist Dr. Malcolm Long perhaps says it best after interviewing Rorschach. How do you talk to a man who looks at the world and sees nothing but his own reflection? How do you argue with someone who sees reality as infinitely malleable? The answer: you don't. You simply accept that some beings are so far removed from humanity that communication becomes impossible. And that is every one of Dr. Manhattan's superpowers explained. What are your thoughts? Which one's your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these deep dives and strange lore. We'll see you in the next video.